is every unsolved mystery in Minecraft, starting with, who are the Illagers? Like, really? I mean, they're not like zombie villagers where you can cure them back into a villager, but there's also a clear similarity there. And sure, you can strike a villager with lightning and turn it into a witch, but are witches Illagers? Or do they just raid with them? Yeah, I can't say I know their motive. I've also been ripped off by villagers, so I get killing them. But then why would they also want to trap Elays? Considering that, unlike iron golems, those don't help out villagers. Nah, well, that's why it's a mystery. Who built all of these Minecraft structures? Sure, there's some that are obvious, like the villagers likely built their villages, the witch huts were made by witches, the pillager outpost and mansion were made by pillagers, but things like the desert temple, the jungle temple, or especially the stronghold, that's where it gets pretty confusing. And while there's plenty of artifacts and hidden chests that hint to the idea of a secret civilization before Steve, we still have no clear answer, so unsolved. Without a doubt, soul sand has to be the creepiest block in Minecraft. Maybe even one of the creepiest things in Minecraft. Now, not because 16 textures are exactly scary, but the implications are creepy. You can see the souls' faces, you can hear them scream, and then when you use a pair of soul speed boots, you can even see them escape out of the block. So what's happening? Are we freeing them? And why would that make us faster? Not to mention whose souls are these in the first place. But considering the Nether similarities to something that starts with an H and ends in hockey sticks, I think it's pretty easy to guess where they might have been from. Over 12 years ago, there was a video that surfaced that was posted by the user SS Lithuania. But what they were showing off wasn't a ship, but rather a Minecraft UFO, which is, while they were breaking a few blocks, you could see some kind of unknown object glide across the screen. Now, when you take it all in context, it's easy to know the meta angle that SS Lithuania is known for being an animator, so it's most likely faked, in the same way that the sky is most likely blue. But when this video first came out, people did not actually know whether this is real or not, and it's funny to look back at some of the debates of people thinking this was actually in the game. Another creepy video that confused players showed up in Dead Skin Mask's upload on November 10th, 2010. This one called A Very Strange House in Minecraft I Did Not Build. And back in the day, this video is infamous, and you'll see why. Since in the video, the creator discovers weird terrain in alpha version 1.2.0_02, and then stumbles across a house that they claim they've never seen before in this world. Which is general advice. I would say that if anyone tells you anything and they have a name like Dead Skin Mask, take that with a Costco-sized amount of salt. But for people who saw that video back in 2010, I guess salt wasn't in stock back then, because there was definitely people out there who believed this. But perhaps the most interesting theory put forward by some players is that due to a bug, there must have been some kind of world corruption that took a portion of their multiplayer world and then another single-player world and then merged it together. Since back in the alpha, there was only 5 world save slots. It was pretty cramped. A lot of corruption could happen. We've never gotten a clear answer as to what the Endermen are exactly. Are they aliens? Are they mutants? Are they former players' ghosts? Well, most interestingly is that this is the only mob like the player that's able to break and pick up blocks. And they're also the only mob that's present in every dimension. And the lore gets even hairier when you start to listen to their voice clips, and under the right settings, you can actually hear certain words and phrases start to poke out. Listen to this. Which seems a lot more man than Ender, and it definitely leaves a lot of room for MatBat to step in and start theorizing. Before Notch made his departure from Mojang, he had originally revealed during the 8th Secret Friday update that he had wanted to add in a Nuke type of dragon to Minecraft, these ones being red and tameable. But since his departure, Mojang's been less interested in following up on this, though there have been some statements like this one from Dinnerbone made about it as well, so it's definitely not forgotten, but it might still be gone, or more aptly put, never arrived. One of the most peculiar blocks ever added to Minecraft was when you crafted 6 iron ingots together with 3 diamonds, giving you the Nether Reactor, if you played on Pocket Edition. And what that would do is, before the Nether was added to that version of Minecraft, you could use this to spawn a Nether Spire that you could use to get all the Nether blocks and items that you would need. But after there was a proper way to get this in the actual game, the block was then removed. But with things like Crying Obsidian getting added back into Minecraft, it does beg the question, would this ever get added back in? But honestly, Mojang shouldn't add this in simply for the amount of different lore ramifications this would come along with it. I mean, come on, a block that can just summon the Nether like that? Portals are already weird enough. We can leave it there. What are creepers? Well, besides someone who stares at you from your window, according to what we see in Minecraft, they might actually be more akin to plants instead of animals. For one, the original texture file for the creeper was actually inspired by overlaying the leaves texture, and developers have also said that at one point they thought of it as dry, crunchy leaves, which then spontaneously combust because they get too nervous around you. But when you look at the block inside of the Minecraft Mobestiary book, there the inner workings of a creeper look pretty different from any kind of plant that I've ever seen. Maybe they're different in Sweden. I don't know. What does the number 422 mean to you? Because if you've been playing Minecraft for a while, you might have heard rumors of something called Error 422, which was a version of Minecraft that was created that was supposed to be a snapshot, but then something went horribly wrong. And instead of completely reshaping how we thought about Minecraft, this version supposedly came to life after the code was written, and instead made the scariest update that Mojang couldn't release. And now that version of Minecraft is broken, and it's a complete mystery as to why it was created in the first place. But I might have a theory. It was a creepypasta. So it was created for internet points, and that's about all it was good for. So don't get too scared about it. Now, Error 423 though. Whew, that's a terrifying one. Who is Steve? For one, why is he called Steve? Since it looks like even Notch was confused when he answered this question. But really, all we know is that, aside from being played by the player, there's nothing really to know about Steve. Though, the most interesting part about Steve is how eerily close the skin looks to the clothes that the zombies wear. And that might make you feel pretty bad when you have to kill so many of them for a mob grinder. But hey, they were already dead. How can you get more dead than dead? More confusing than what Elytras are is why they have such a fascination with both chickens and cats. And you'll see as much if you go inside of a Woodland Mansion. That is, if you're able to actually walk to one of these. They're not exactly close. But once you reach there after a long trek, you're always going to find a giant cat and chicken statue. But those are just one amongst many different weird things that you can find in a Woodland Mansion. So maybe they're left there to confuse people who wander in, or it's assigned to some kind of secret chicken or cat cult. Which then begs the question, how do you join a chicken and cat cult? Asking for a friend. And while the structures themselves are confusing, that's nothing compared to the hidden loot that you'll find with things like shipwreck chests. Now, it's easy to assume that there was some kind of pirate race that existed before us. I mean, X marks the spot kind of gives that away. And we can guess what happened to them since all of their ships seemed to crash in the water. But why were they collecting hearts of the sea? Who knows? Maybe they used conduits along with the ancient ocean ruins that we find underwater. It wouldn't be the first person who saw a conduit and wanted to build Atlantis. Can't say I blame them. Have you ever wondered what's inside the dragon egg? Or really, what's the dragon egg for? Since although it's been in the game for a while, it's never had a use, except for making this funny sign thing. But we don't even use it to respawn the dragon. We've got end crystals for that. But then also confusing is why does it teleport every time that you try to grab it? Overall, it seems a little ominous. At the very least, very confusing. Minecraft's a game made of cubes. I mean, your eyes will tell you that. But when you see shadows in the game, all of them happen to be circles. Drop an item on the floor, its shadow will always be a circle. Look underneath your feet, circle. That's not to mention that mobs also have shadow circles that very much do not line up to their size. The Ender Dragon's a great example of this. Big mob, small circle. And also these shadows are capable of rendering on top of light sources like lava, which makes them confusing in all different ways that you look at them. According to Minecraft's story mode, all these structures that we see were actually built by ancient builders. But that's from a different game, and honestly, I wouldn't trust Telltale on anything, least of all how to run a business. But that aside, there definitely was something that came before us. And the idea of people playing before us on this world would explain things like the temples, but also the idea of ruined nether portals. But they must have played in hardcore mode, because last I checked this is single player, and it's staying that way. What are the Elytra made of? Well, it seems like even Mojang doesn't know, since for a brief time, the way that you would repair these is using leather. And now you just gotta suck it up and deal with a couple of phantoms instead. So there you go. Are they phantom wings? Well, they certainly do have a similar shape and color, but there's also no phantoms that you'll see inside of the end, considering that sleeping there's always a bad call. But they're also not likely to have been used by shulkers or endermen, because they can teleport, which makes finding these in the end ships in the cities even more confusing than trying to find your way back to an end gateway. And speaking of phantoms, are they even real? Now that sounds like a dumb question, because they're definitely a real pain to deal with. But considering the fact that they only appear in the game when you haven't slept for 3 in-game days, maybe they're just a hallucination. Though if that's the case, there's definitely some kind of group psychosis that's going on here. Because it doesn't just matter if you're the only one who doesn't sleep, because if all your friends are unlucky enough to be around you, then they could also have to deal with the same pain of the phantoms as well. But really, the real question we should be asking is, why did we ever choose these things over the other mobs in the mob vote? And that's a mystery that'll elude us all, and a mistake that'll haunt us. What do the villagers need emeralds for? I mean, they certainly have a lot of them. If you give it enough time, you can get an infinite emerald farm from one villager alone. So then, why would they be interested in getting them traded back to them for one? But also, emeralds are never used to decorate anything inside of their villages, and they don't need them for protection, unless they pay off the iron golems, I guess. And what's even more curious is that when they trade with other villagers, they never give each other emeralds, but instead do things like bread and foodstuffs. Maybe it's just a cryptocurrency used to confuse Steve and Alex. And with how much of a ripoff some of these can be, I'd believe it's a scam. Now, out of all the different structures in Minecraft, the most peculiar might just have to be the igloo. And not because of anything you see up top in the Winter Wonderland, but rather when you go down into the basement and find a villager and a zombie villager. Now, upon first look, any kind of hidden secret basement, that's always gonna look shady and evil. But I'd say that it might just be the opposite, since down here you actually learn how to cure villagers from their zombified self. And at that point, it's a humanitarian experiment. We basically just stumbled upon a rehab house down here. And my guess is that it's probably the cleric villager who would have gone and set this up. But until we know for sure, that's all it is, I guess. What purpose do nitwit villagers solve? Well, it's a trick question. Literally nothing. But if you look at this theory here, it might just be that the nitwit villagers actually go on to become wandering traders. Since the texture that you see underneath their robes shares a very close resemblance to the nitwit. They've got the same green robe and everything. But with how insultingly bad some wandering trader trades can be, these might have just been better when they were sitting on your couch eating Funyun rings. I'd rather have an underachiever than a can't achieve at all. At least the llamas are cute. What is the ancient debris made of? Well, according to the lead artist Jappa, it's actually supposed to be designed to look like compressed sheets of metal. But as one player pointed out on Reddit, if you look at the bottom of a texture, it looks eerily similar to that of the shulker. And that gives the theory of ancient debris being fossilized shulker shells. But how they would have gotten to the nether from the end is a mystery in itself. And I'd be more in favor of saying that when you only have 16 by 16 pixels to use, you're kinda limited in your design. You're gonna get some similarities. Certain parts of the community are very curious as to whether Alex and Steve are dating. And hey, I'm not gonna hate, do what you want to in your own free time. But I will mention that someone over at LEGO seems to agree with you, since according to this handbook, it says that Steve is in fact Alex's boyfriend. But come on, that's a LEGO handbook. And considering the official Mojang handbooks aren't all that useful either, I'd say there might be some artistic liberty taken here. And with that, folks, YouTube thinks that you might like this video, so see if they're right and have a good one, alright?